Without further ado, we have our state auditor here with us, Stacey Pickering, who joins us. And Stacey, you are actually the state auditor, and you are truly Stacey Pickering, correct?
Well, that's the last time I checked. That's at least what my wife and children said when I left the house this morning.
You're not just wearing a Stacey Pickering mask,
we're
are you?
Just laughing.
No broom holding me up or anything else. That's the real deal.
No broom holding you up or anything else. I understand.
You got to tell the Super Talk family how important y'all are.
Well, we didn't know until just a minute ago.
We just found out ourselves.
I'll tell you. I mean, we're storming in at the last minute with traffic trying to get here and find out we're not wanted.
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to have to see your papers.
Let me say this, and I commend what Jeff and the people here at Farm Bureau are doing. They've got security a little different now the way they want it. So
they changed the security on the building.
We're going to let Gary
get in without an escort.
Gary is going to become the official escort of Super Talk Mississippi. The problem is, it would take him 30 minutes to get from the front door to here because he would be talking to you the whole way here. He'd have to stop and visit. But
I got to see everybody along the way. Yeah, we thought it was kind of funny. I don't know how many years have we been doing this show. 6, 8 years now. I've been coming and joining you as a guest. And
I know.
I can hear Gary now. Hey, auditor, let's go this way. The studio is back here.
Stacey, you came out. I should say, Auditor Pickering. You came out with several.
Stacey's just fine.
I know that it's between me and you, but you're supposed to do it the correct way.
Thank
you. We learned something, and we found out a lot of things concerning textbooks, school districts, and pupils.
Right.
And I understand we're kind of in a transition between textbooks and the new digital age and all those types of things. But you've learned some things that are a little bit disturbing, aren't they?
Well, we are in a transition, but the state law has already been written so that long as we have a systematic presentation of the material, so it sort of takes into account digital textbooks, if you will, computer-based, web-based, or the old standard books like you and I hauled around and, in the backpacks and whatnot. The point is the kids have to have, under state law, textbooks or systematic presentation of the material to be able to carry home with them. That's what the law says.
To have the ability to take them home.
After instructional hours, take it home. That way they can do homework, they can study. Parents can reference it. Because I'll be honest with you, it's been a long time since I've done algebra and calculus, and sometimes when my kids want Dad to help, I've got to flip back and go, okay, remind me where we are, what are we doing? Okay, now here we go. And yes, not all parents may or may not, but again, the law is very clear that students should have free textbooks. They should be available to them after instructional hours. These textbooks should be available to them to carry home. And what we discovered this year, as we did our audits of school districts across the state, 98% of our school districts that we audited this year were not compliant with that law, did not have adequate number of textbooks for all their students to have them after instructional hours or to carry home. And that was disturbing, if you will. We know we've been under budget crunches for several years and those kind of issues, but at the same time, the purpose of education is to educate the children, to make sure they have the resources. And if we expect our kids to do well, to score better, and to do better than Mom and Dad did when they were in school, then we've got to make sure we're putting the resources and the education material there. The good news is I've had superintendents who took our audits and looked at it. Now, kudos to the superintendent of Hattiesburg City Schools. He literally said publicly, look, this is a great management tool. This helps us see what we're doing or not doing, and it helps us address that. And that's really what these audits are helpful to school districts, not just to say, hey, shame on you for not obeying the law of the state, but it's a management tool to help school districts go, wow, we thought we may have been doing something, but we realize we need to come back and redouble our efforts. This is 43% of our state budget, and I think we as the taxpayers, we as parents, should expect it to be looked at.
Did you ever expect it to be as widespread as this?
No, and it's not just this. We're getting ready to release the audit. 46 school districts are what we audited in this program last year. We'll be doing another 40 to 50 school districts this year. It's a 3-year rotation where we look not just at textbooks, but we're looking at attendance policies, residency issues. We're looking at safety and security. We're looking at all of these factors of how our school districts function. And what we found this year was pretty disturbing. All the school districts had written policies on attendance. They had written policies on absenteeism. But 96 and 98% of the school districts weren't following their own policy.
Wow.
Not just textbooks, but it's across the board.
Now, how are you going to battle this well, this is just, Pickering's a Republican, and he's picking on the school districts because, the Republicans don't want to fully fund them. All just the same old mantra and nonsense that we hear.
I got elected to the Senate in 03, and it's been the same story and the same song every year.
Yeah, even before you were the auditor.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not, the bottom line is the duty of your office is to protect the taxpayer's dollar.
Exactly. We do that in two ways when it comes to school district. One, they all have to be financially audited as a district and turn those audits into our office. We review that work that's been done. And the second way that we do it is through these MSIS audits where we go in and we're looking at multiple things. That way we can validate the MAP funding formula. Is the data that's going into that accurate data? And we found out last year it was not. We found that school districts had a different definition across the board, and the legislature decided, you know what, you're right. It was a Democrat, Republican, black, white, north, south, east, west issue where the entire legislature, House and Senate, got behind it in 1 year and said, we need a standard definition of what makes up an average daily attendance. That's gone into effect this school year. That's a good start because that's $1.9 billion of the funding formula is dealt with that issue right there. Now we're finding out textbooks are a problem across the state. And it's not just going to digital. It's making sure that that's available to the kids all time. And it's not just one subject. It's across the board is what we found in Mississippi. Some schools didn't even have enough adequate textbooks for them even to assign them to the kids for one class in some school districts. But I do want to give kudos. Out of the 46 school districts we audited this year, Pascagoula School District had it right. They had a school textbook for every student to use after hours, whether it's a hard copy, traditional book, or digital. They had comprehensive textbooks available to their student. That was the only school district, was Pascagoula School District, that had it right this year. Kudos to those guys.
Just one out of all the ones you audited.
Absolutely.
So what's the next step? I mean, what do we have to do to make them comply, or is this going to be something? Well, they're going to come back to the legislature and beg for more money because the auditor's making them comply with the law. I mean, nothing would surprise me from what we would hear from the school lobby. But
well, I've been very clear with them from the get-go. If the law is antiquated and we need to adjust it for digital textbooks and for comprehensive, then let's do so, but let's make sure we never take the accountability out of it. We've got to make sure, as auditor, I can always go in and we can follow up, because this is 43% of our state budget, and we all say the most important thing that we can do as a state is to educate the next generation. Then we ought to be inspecting it. We ought to be following up, making sure it's happening across the board, and nobody ought to get upset when that happens. If anything, it's like the superintendent in Hattiesburg. He says this was a great, useful management tool to help us look at how good of a job we're doing or areas we need to improve. That's the first thing. This is not gotcha politics. This is, hey, guys, you're the most important thing we do as a state is educating that next generation. How well are we doing? Are we following the laws? The law is straightforward. It says we have to have a textbook, a free textbook for every student for them to use after instructional hours to carry home. Are we doing that? And what we found this year is a lot of school districts aren't doing it.
One of 47 districts. Only one was complying.
Only one.
That is amazing. Auditor Pickering, there has been... I know there's certain things you can or can't do. I mean, as a school district, can you go in pretty much per se and audit anything you want to inside a school district at any time, or does it have to have an alarm raised? How does that work?
Pretty much we can. Now, we don't go in just with total surprise and carte blanche and say, surprise, we're here. We give them a heads up, we're coming in, they know we're coming, because, you want to make sure they're prepared for you, because I don't want my folks standing around waiting to get access to files or folders or anything else. But some things when it comes to safety, like a school district last year, we walked into JT and found the doors were propped open with cinder blocks to let air circulate. But the problem is you just compromise the entire safety of that school district, that anybody could walk in off the street through that parking lot and come in through the side door, and they have access to every student that's there.
That's amazing.
And so they weren't following their own policies for safety and security of these students. That should be a bigger and bigger issue across the state and across the nation, as we've seen some of our school districts compromise, not just nationally, but here in Mississippi in the last year.
We're going to send our front desk over there to that school.
I'll tell you what, they did a good job. Hey, and kudos to the lady up front. She was doing what she was told to do. We weren't coming in this building.
Somebody came and got you. Charles in Tupelo. Charles, how you doing? Welcome to the JT Show.
I'm doing well. I have a question for Stacey there. Stacey, Toyota moved up here to North Mississippi, and they were given a lot of taxpayer incentives to move here, and with that part of the equation, Toyota has, I guess, given an endowment or some sort of funding back to the school district.
Right.
And if I read this in the newspaper correctly, that money is turned over just to the superintendent to do as he pleases. And that's a lot of money.
Well, most of that's in lieu of tax dollars, and I don't know that it's necessarily for a superintendent to do as they please, but we have the same issue in Canton city schools, in public schools, where Nissan has done the same thing. So that's not unusual what Toyota is doing here, where it's like, look, so that we can get the ball up and going and so we can create the jobs and improve the local economy, we need some help here and some breaks so we can get the ball rolling. That's one of the things that's kind of common in Mississippi, really across the nation, is in lieu of tax funds, they will make money directly to the school district. That holds the school district so it doesn't get harmed if they say, look, we're willing to forego the property taxes for 10 years, but we're still going to give money to the school district. And that's what's happened in Tupelo. They're still giving the money to the school districts instead of it going the natural process through property taxes probably. And that superintendent still has to follow the law when it goes to purchasing, procurement, and budgeting. Still has to go before the local school board and all of those factors. So, but it is something to know that we will be following up on. We were in Lee County and Tupelo City Schools this year as part of the 47 school districts we were in.
Well, we always hear about this, what do they call it, the school supply fund. There's always money that rolls over every year
right.
with these school districts, and sometimes some of these school districts have upwards of tremendous amounts of money in there. What is it? It's almost like this is some UFO Roswell Area 51 mystery about these reserve funds that these school districts carry over each year.
Well, those are really kind of two different issues. And that's one thing with school districts. You start realizing there's a lot of different pots of money out there. We have federal money that comes down to the school districts. You got grant money. You got money that comes from the State Department of Education. We've got E-rate money that comes in for technology. If you ever wonder what the little universal fee on your phone bill is when you have to pay your phone every month, that's E-rate money that goes to school districts for wiring and connectivity and networking. And so you got all these different pots of money that are coming in. The two that you just asked about, dealing with school funds, what we found several years ago, that money was not getting to the teachers for them to use for resources for their classroom. School districts are doing a better job. The state laws have been tightened up. We inspect that to make sure the money's going out. We've talked about it on your show. We put a report out that shows where the school districts are putting that money and how the teachers are getting it. It's made a difference. The other pot of money are these reserve funds. Now, some school districts are saving money for the right reasons, for repair and renovation or expansion. And that's the right thing to do to put this money back. But for school districts to sit on large pots of money, a rainy day fund, and then not want to spend it when it's raining, in other words, budgets are tight, like we experienced going through this past recession, that's wrong.
Got a tweet from Wayne, Real Wayne. He says, does Stacey know anything about Lee County schools like Mooreville Elementary and Mooreville High School? Says, my kid does not have a textbook to take home at Mooreville High School. Was that one of the 47?
It was one of the 47 that did not comply. Like I said, the only school district that had enough textbooks for every student to use after instructional hours was Pascagoula. Otherwise, Lee County schools did not comply. And I can't speak specifically to that school where his child is, but I can tell you.
What's going to happen to them, though?
Well, we're going to be following up. I mean, they've been a put on warning this year. Every school district received a report for every one of these areas, whether residency, whether it's our attendance policy, safety, security, or textbooks, and said, these are the problems we found where you're not in compliance with law or not in compliance with regulation. And so they had a chance to respond to us. Many were just rubber stamp kind of, we will respond or we'll fix it. Well, we're going to be going back to those school districts to see how they fixed it, what changes they have made, because this is the most important thing that we do as a government, is educating that next generation, providing them a safe, secure environment to learn in. We've got great administrators across the state, great teachers that are working hard to do just that, and it's my job to come behind them and inspect and make sure we are doing what we think we're doing.
It's something that really gets people fired up. Hey, Stacey Pickering is here. He had so much trouble getting in. We're going to have to hold him for another segment if you have time. I don't know if you do.
I think we can make it just a little bit.
Hey, real quick, is Report Online? Is this Report Online, Stacey? A couple of people tweeted that.
Tell you what, we'll tell you about that when we come back. More. We'll get that answer and more coming up next. Stacey Pickering, your state auditor here on the JT Show. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter. 29-14. We got, boy, it'd be great to hit the $3,000 by the end of the week, wouldn't it? At the JT Show.